Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Dayton, Ohio, it's time for Dayton Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Dayton Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today we got Joey DiFranco. He is with Exhibit Concepts, and he runs their Next Lab. Welcome, Joey.
Thank you, Lee. Great to be here.
Well, before we get too far into things, tell us about Exhibit Concepts. How are you serving folks?
Yeah, so we're a environment building and design firm. So we work in the trade show space, the live event space. We work in immersive education, museums, corporate interiors, basically any kind of like gathering spaces or environments that help tell stories. We're involved.
Well, now tell us about Next Lab. How is that kind of incorporated into the overall mission of Exhibit Concepts?
Yeah, no. So Exhibit Concepts has been around for over 40 years, and we got our start truly putting, wood, nails, and paint together and building these branded environments. And over time, listening to our customers and clients, technology played a bigger role year over year. And we were working with a lot of great vendors across the United States and, kept wanting more out of our technology and our experiences that we could create with technology. And so we formed Next Lab, which is an experiential technology department, and different a little bit from a lot of exhibit houses that solely focus on the design and build. We're able to then bring in that technology layer and that media layer, such as video production, animation, digital signage, and we're able to do all of that in-house. So that is truly a benefit to our clients and also allows us to kind of expand the reaches where we're able to bring that interaction and that engagement level to our different environments.
So now who's kind of leading the push and the stretching of the limits of things? Is this stuff that internally you guys are pushing for, or is the customer saying, you know what, I wish it could do blah, blah, blah?
It's a little bit of both. So, and I think there's actually a third factor in there too. So we're obviously watching the industry and watching technology. And anytime we see something really cool that we can bring to the table that we think will deliver results, I'm have a marketing background as well as technology and design. And for me, I always like to look at the goal. So, the goal is first and foremost from whenever someone brings something to the table, I want to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And if there's a good technology solution out there that can help them get to that goal, that's what we're going to provide. And sometimes that's something super cool and innovative and next level. And sometimes it's something that's just reliable and works. All of this shouldn't have to be complicated from a client standpoint. They should never have to wonder too much about what's under the hood. They're looking at the end result like we are, and we're just kind of helping fill in the gaps from a technology standpoint to get there. As far as driving it as well too, we have the industry, we have the client request, maybe they saw something that they like, and then we also do research and development on our end. So we're always trying to kind of keep one eye on what's next and how we can best serve our clients within all of our different business units.
So now which experiences are kind of the leading or bleeding edge? Are they museums? Are they trade shows? Like who's kind of leading the way and really pushing the envelope?
Yeah, so we're doing some neat things from a production standpoint in the immersive education immersive education realm. So there's a lot of trends right now around education, especially in the lower L areas where we're kind of building these branded environments that are interactive for the children and have kind of curriculum designed into the architecture. So we may have a room that is for science that is designed to look like outer space and have a big rocket in the center and planets on the wall. And so we kind of bake in good kid-friendly immersive technology. So there might be screens on the wall hidden. There might be, VR headsets, augmented reality on tablets, different ways to kind of enhance that learning and make that environment really come to life beyond the architecture. So we're seeing a lot of advancements there. And then obviously, out on the trade show floor for us historically, it's always kind of who has the biggest, flashiest, brightest, coolest booth, right? This is all about attracting people into the space to be able to have those nice face-to-face interactions. And I always equate it to like the birds of paradise, out in the jungle, the most colorful bird with the biggest plumes gets people to come in the door. So if you have something really flashy, something really unique, you're going to start to gather a crowd at your specific show. Now, obviously, things have changed a little bit in the last couple of months, and there's not a lot of that face-to-face interaction. And so technology for us is starting to kind of shift and play a little bit of a different role internally. But it's been an interesting journey to kind of see that evolve so far.
So now how have you adapted to this kind of new world that we're living in now? Are you guys doing virtual experiences, or are you just on pause, kind of playing with the toys to see what else you can come up to when this pandemic wanes?
Yeah, so we're running two paths right now. So I think in the immediate need, it's adaptability of technology that's out there. So we've had a lot of requests from our environments that already exist that maybe have touch screens or different signage and that have been able to kind of step up their reopening with limitations. So, we do a fair amount of museums down in the southern United States, and they have touch screens and their governors and their communities have opened back up, but there are different guidelines in place where you can't have that interactivity. You can't put your finger on a touch kiosk to bring up information at the museum. And so we're helping those clients adapt by making phone-friendly web solutions. So, you walk in, you scan a little code with the camera on your phone, and you have access to everything inside the museum from a labeling and content standpoint. To, even antimicrobial films, different kind of coverings and branded things to make that environment safer. And then on a parallel path, we are creating from scratch virtual tools to help our clients meet their face-to-face goals. At the end of the day, everything that we're doing in the trade show space is usually aligned with that sales and marketing goal. Our clients go to their shows so they can bring people in the door, they can demo their products. With that being absent this year, they're having their deficit in being able to make their leads, make their sales numbers. And so we really wanted to kind of help fill that vacuum as quickly as we could with some good virtual solutions that still fit their goals. And so we're helping to produce virtual events right now for our clients. We're helping to do virtual product demonstrations using augmented reality. And we're even helping to translate some of those museums and immersive education spaces into full kind of 360 panorama browser-based experiences, just to allow that content to still be used when a time when we can't all sit around and have a conversation or be in the environment.
So now what is kind of the word out there in the trade show realm? Is this something that they're not even looking at this year, that everything is mid next year? Like, what's the kind of the timeline of when they see some sense of normalcy?
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors at play. So, we have ourselves and, as exhibitors, right, we want to get out there as soon as possible. But there's a lot of things that are kind of lining up. You have state-by-state regulations right now, which are kind of dictating the size of gatherings. But you also have to look at the audiences, right? There has to be a certain comfort level that audiences have with returning to these large shows, and they want to feel confident that those safety measures are in place. And a lot of our clients as well work on the international stage. So we may have, trade shows out in Las Vegas or Orlando or Chicago that draw a large international audience that just can't get physically to the U.S. right now. And so we have our clients kind of weighing the options, whether or not the show is happening. We're seeing cancellations from a show standpoint, but we're also seeing cancellations from the value of the customer being able to get, our clients being able to get what they need out of that face-to-face effort. Because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of dollars to be able to travel to these shows as a client and set up your booth and for everything that we create, but making sure that experience has that return of investment. That's something that everybody's weighing. And so, we have some clients that are still planning on presenting, their shows are still going on in the fall this year. But I think a lot of people have eyes on 2021 and to kind of see how the regulations shake out in our major markets like Vegas, California, Orlando, Chicago, around those gatherings, and then really how the audiences of our clients are going to react. Are they going to come back for one day of a show, or a show is going to be a little more staggered or smaller groups? We're hearing kind of everything and keeping our ear to the ground, but it really is a bit up in the air. We were all sitting back here in March looking at April for shows, and we said, hey, maybe this will go. It'll kind of go away on its own. We don't really know what's going to happen, and then here we are, about to be in July, and we're still kind of dealing in the same situation we were back in March.
And then the timeline for these shows, aren't they booked like a year in advance or sometimes even farther ahead of time?
Absolutely. So we're seeing a lot of those shows to offer virtual-esque offerings. And I use the word esque in there, kind of the hyphen there, to say that they're not these full packages because of that timeline, right? There are shows that maybe were in July that had to cancel 6 weeks out, and so they're transitioning to a Zoom webinar, or they're delaying to the fall to be able to figure out a virtual offering, or they're straight up, a lot of the smaller shows are kind of cutting their losses and saying, hey, we'll be back next year. But yeah, there are people, we had trucks in March that were out delivering booths to trade show floors that were turned around as all the cancellations and all the closures start to happen. For us, we work on a pretty long timeline when we have to physically build something, just because it takes the right amount of time to build that architecture. And so, there's definitely a lot of planning, a lot of dollars, a lot of budgeting that's going around with our clients and with our teams around the trade show space to try to get the best alignment and make sure, again, everybody is accomplishing as many of their goals as they can for 2020, despite what's kind of happening in the outside world.
Well, let's talk a little bit about these kind of visual and interactive technologies that you're reading about in kind of magazines and future kind of blogs and videos of that sort. How does that come into play? Like, how much do you get to kind of play around with these next gen technologies? And then from that point, how quickly can you get them into someone's booth or into a museum?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every case is different, but we kind of have a motto or kind of a mantra within Next Lab where we have a flag that hangs up in our work area when we are in the office that says, "You'll think of something." And then that kind of mantra goes through technology as well too, where we get asked a lot of times to kind of engineer the impossible, right? People will come to us and they'll say, "Well, have you done, a robot arm that swings a lightsaber through a low-lying fog? Have you done that before?" It's like, well, no, of course we haven't, but we can, because we are able to experiment and do our research and development. And so for us, part of our time is really allotted to that kind of playground space. Like any creative field, I want to give my team enough runway to be able to experiment, to tinker, to build, and to try out these things. And within the virtual case, we had our virtual solutions up and running in about 6 weeks following kind of the closure starting at the end of March. And so that's when we had our first virtual piece out there. We put on a large demo event for a couple hundred folks to kind of test out the technology to our client base. And now, we are in production throughout the summer on different virtual events. Some stuff takes longer, some of the physical build things. We've been playing around in the augmented reality space for about 12 to 18 months right now, doing everything from product demonstration to kind of interactive architecture. And then, VR space as well too, but we keep a large handful of these tools around. So as we see things come around, we're able to kind of play with them very quickly. And also the diversity of our team allows us to really attack these things and kind of get what I call an MVP or a minimal viable product up very quickly. We have developers on staff. We have people who can create media from a video or animation standpoint. And then we also have access to our full creative team, which can do 3D renderings, modelings, and kind of create different things that we can then plug and play into some of this immersive technology that requires that level of design.
So what kind of project have you worked on that's been your biggest kind of wow factor that you're most proud of?
I would say just even in the short term, it's really virtual events, right? We've lived in the event space for 40 years, but we were not a virtual event company. And for us to kind of sit down, we all sat down right around St. Patrick's Day in March and said, okay, if we're going to be on hiatus for a while here and we can't get people face to face, we have 40 years of experience in this building. Let's go ahead and all sit down and figure out how to use the technology we know that is reliable and that we can get up and running quickly to best meet the goals and experiences our clients are used to with dealing with us. And for me, that was a super proud moment to have something that none of us had really, we'd all been a part of projects kind of like that before, but Exhibit Concept itself had never produced a virtual event, prior to 2020. And now we have some of our biggest brands lined up that we are creating these really great pieces for. And so, in the near term, that's something that I'm really proud of. I know the team is really proud of it, and it's going to help us, kind of weather this trade show storm, but also really set us up for the future to be able to have digital events and digital offerings like this in our toolkit going forward, no matter global pandemic or not.
So now what's the pain that a company's having where Exhibit Concepts or Next Lab is the solution?
Yeah, so I think it's that full service piece. So Next Lab being part of Exhibit Concepts and not being a third party entity or an external vendor. It's when a client comes to us to solve their branded environment request, we have everything under our roof. So we can, create their media for them, do all of their design, help them with their creative, and then physically build or digitally build the solution. So nose to tail, we're there with them the whole way through. And that is our reputation in the industry, this white glove, kind of high level of service that we can keep throughout the entire process, and really allow our clients to focus on what they need to do for their business, and not, have to worry about all the different parts and pieces that go into creating, some of these very large scale events.
Now, what about kind of internal talent? How are you doing from that standpoint? Is that something you're always looking for good folks to be part of the team?
Yeah, we're always on the lookout, and especially now as we start to grow our technology and digital offerings, from a development standpoint or media standpoint. And the nice thing is, with Exhibit Concepts having our office here in Dayton, we have a different office in Chicago, and then we have a few remote workers that are around the country. And obviously in the current climate, it's a lot easier for everybody to all connect remotely. And so for us, looking for talent, we've always been able to cast a little bit of a wider net, and have been forward thinking about that. But, as parts of our business kind of shift to adapt to everything that's going on in the industry, I think there's going to be that opportunity to still be able to grow, down the line here, as a lot of companies are kind of shrinking or changing in size.
So now, are you looking for recent graduates, or is it something that you got to be kind of a veteran in order to really do well at Exhibit Concepts?
Yeah, it's not necessarily industry specific. I think it's more technology based, at least, what I'm always looking for on my team. But, we do work a fair amount with kind of college graduates and entry levels. We have different internship programs and things that we've worked with different colleges and universities in the past. That is a little bit more difficult here in 2020, obviously, with our office, not being open to all employees right now. But historically for us, we've partnered with universities that have kind of trade show and environment creation programs, as well as, museum design and exhibit design. So we are kind of keeping people within the funnel, but I know as our technology capabilities widen, we're able to work with folks that maybe have not had the event experience, but have really strong technology experience that they can use their talents to create things for our environments.
If somebody wanted to learn more, have more substantive conversation with you or somebody on your team, what's the best website?
The best website is exhibitconcepts.com, and there's a contact form pretty much on every page, so feel free to connect with us through there.
Well, Joey, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lee.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Dayton Business Radio.